Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Welcome back to the Manager Matt podcast show, where we make leadership practical, human, and sometimes real. Now, I'm your host, Matthew Haddock, and as you know by now, I am here to help you, as a leader and manager in the real world, get things right, get things moving in the right direction, and make sure, hopefully, we get better leaders at the end of the day. As we wrap up 2025, I always do a review of the year that's just gone by. Look at what went well, look at maybe what didn't go so well, and have a few reflective moments about some of the top episodes that have created such conversation and had a lot of responses from yourself in this year. Now, this year's been different for me. I've been working away from home, which is the first time I've done that ever in my career for a long period. So I've had a lot of time to reflect, a lot of time to read, because sometimes you have different pressures when you're not at home. I've also had a chance to meet some great new people and to work with a number of businesses that were in problems, in issues, had things needed sorting, that I hopefully was able to give them a much better view of the world. And then I've returned to working again, back in Yorkshire, back in production, what I've always loved to do. So there's been a lot of change this year, but I've enjoyed it. And I think change is something that we embrace as leaders. If not, it's very difficult to get the best out of yourself if you just stick to one thing in a rut. So let's look at the top 5 episodes this year and see if they resonate with yourself. Now, of course, you can always go back to listen to any of these episodes whenever you want. There's nothing stopping you. You can go back and listen to 320 some episodes if you wish. And I've always done them in quite short, snappy, 15 to 20 minute kind of bursts, so you can listen to a couple of them whilst you're walking your dog or on your commute to work. But let's start with the top 5 management, and it was around fads for the past decade and what's next. So I looked at what were the big fads. So this episode came out in July, and this episode looked at the strategic value of thinking ahead, looking at what there is in the world is in regard to management and management fads, reflects on those trends that shape leadership over the past decade. You know, I helped you hopefully distinguish when value could be had with having management thinking. And it's good to have some insight and blend that with reflections of the past and the future, and try to kind of look ahead and see what you as leaders and managers are going to face into as things move on. You know, it combines some historical insights with a forward-thinking kind of leadership guidance, and it provided you with a strategical thinking for your career, for an organisation, and for directions. And it appealed to a broad range of experience levels. So sometimes when I speak, I guess it can be very up to a senior level, but I tried to mix it up with my early days when I was a shift manager. So there you are. Go have a listen to that one. That was the top 5 management fads of the past decade and what's up next. Then we went on to what have we learnt as a senior manager, the do's, the don'ts, and the hard truths. Now, this was a really kind of strange one. I'd gone through working with a company that expected a lot for what they were getting, and it really did come down to me having to lead the site, really put myself out there and take some flack. And there's some do's and don'ts. So this episode offered a practical leadership masterclass. It drew upon some real experiences, and it resonated strongly with those in or transitioning into a senior leadership role due to it being honest and in-depth. And the standout qualities, well, it was candid. It was a lesson in leadership, both good and bad. You know, sometimes you do get bruises and battered when you're a leader, and in this one, I definitely got bruised and battered. But I came out with some mental sharpness, and I could apply that complexity and hopefully give you some tools that you can apply when you're in that really awkward boardroom meeting. And of course, it made you look at how you should deal with issues when you get them, because there was a few aha moments in my time with that company where I realised I'd missed it. I took my eye off the ball and missed completely what really the business wanted. So it's a good one to have a listen to when you're going into a senior role, to try not to make the same mistakes that I did. Number 3 on my list is how to make real procedures stick for good. Now, this is about consistency, and I can hardly say it, but it's about consistency in challenges. So managers and teams, they go through a point of becoming bad at certain things. Now, overnight, people don't just get bad. What happens is the procedures don't get applied, or they don't get trained out, or in some instances, it's diluted down by people not training it right. And in this episode, I look at some practical frameworks to try to embed effective systems in work and make them valuable. So they're not just there on a piece of paper, they're actually good in regard to making the place better. It looked at embedding them and making your effective system stick. And it related to a broad band of experience. Don't matter if you're a line leader, team leader, or the managing director, getting good procedures that stick and are really solid will help your business grow and give you less mistakes. Number 4 on my list was when pizza's not enough to motivate through redundancies. Again, this episode was an emotionally charged picture of when things really go wrong. Unfortunately, there is times where there's layoffs and redundancies, and I like to look at the fact that sometimes our superficial perks are not really the right thing to do. They're maybe a nice thing, it's something people try to use, but when you look at the human, actual centred motivation, giving them pizza wasn't really it. Being honest with them, talking about emotional intelligence as a leader, providing them a realistic approach to support your team was there, and obviously valuing that leaders as well as the people in the teams are going to be affected by these kind of big changes. So buying them a pizza and getting them some cakes is maybe a nice thing to do, but actually real communication, real honesty with people and making sure people know where they're going as much as they can is much better than buying pizza. And last one on this list is how to stop training becoming a waste of time. Training is one of the largest investments organisations make. Sometimes they don't make enough, but often it fails to be effective. You know the training courses you've been on, these, click on here and do a 30-minute one on morals and ethics or data protection. And we all just want to skip along to the test, tick the box to say to do it. Can you remember any of it before you walked out the door? No, you can't. So, it looked at how you make sure that learning can be effective. You use practical management focus to get people to really appreciate that training is a good thing to do if it's the right training, and make sure it's reinforced. Going back to my point about procedures, you don't train people on the procedures and you don't enforce the procedures, funnily enough, the procedures don't work. So it's useful for leaders, HR, business partners, and anyone who wants to coach the right training and right process. Now, a couple of honourable mentions in this list. How to lead well under pressure was a good one. We're all going to be under pressure, but building resilience, making sure your decisions are made in the right way was a great one. And how to be a soft touch manager. So, we talk about this hard, no's and getting results, and obviously leadership's about that. But this was about exploring empathy in leadership and looking at how you could cross over between being a right person but also getting results. To summarise, Manager Matt's episodes have been in practical tools. They've got real world leadership insight. They're reflective on both people-centric and strategical challenges. So as a manager and a leader, if this is the first time you've listened to one, welcome on board. Please come back and listen. There's lots of things you can learn from the episodes in 2025 and the back catalogue. And I'm hoping into next year to do the same. Keep looking at real world issues that I am facing every day, how I can make the businesses I'm working with better, how I can develop the people around me to deliver results, and how I can make sure that the businesses grow and are successful, not just in the short term, but in the long term. So if you want more of that, and you want more about Manager Matt, obviously listen to the back catalogue or message me on LinkedIn. It's Matthew Haddock. I would be interested to engage in new and old topics. You can email me. That's managermattpodcast@gmail.com if you want to email. Or, as you say, anywhere you're listening to, you can put comments. But that's it for Manager Matt this week, and it's it for this year. So I'll see you in 2026. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful, and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.